What's up, guys, and welcome to the channel. This is Tyler Tote. Today, guys, I am especially fired up. I'm going to give you sermon number 2, and this is my all-time favorite story in the Bible. This is one that's had a massive impact on my life, and I believe can really change your mindset, your life, and everything about it if we apply these lessons that I'm going to go over today. I previously taught on King David. He's my all-time favorite Bible character, and had 3 big lessons from his life. I'll link that one below. Got a lot of great feedback on that one, except for this one guy. I'll link this comment up here. There's always one, you always gotta have one critic. But anyway, really excited to get into this with you guys today. This account is found in 3 different spots in the Bible. It's found in Matthew 9, in Luke 8, and in Mark 5. Today I'm mainly gonna be focusing on the Mark 5 version, specifically verses 21 through 42. I'm gonna go ahead and read those as we start, and we'll hop right in, guys. I got some good takeaways for this one I think you'll really enjoy. So at this point in Jesus' life, he's becoming really famous. He's done a lot of miracles, word's gotten around. There's some people that are very threatened by that, other people that are obviously very excited and starting to follow him. So he has large crowds wherever he goes. Where we pick up on this story is he just took a ship across the sea and lands, and that's where we start in Mark chapter 5, verse 21. And when Jesus had crossed in the boat to the other side, a great crowd gathered about him, and he was at the lakeshore. Then one of the rulers of the synagogue came up, Jairus by name, and seeing him, he prostrated himself at his feet. He begged him earnestly, saying, "My little daughter is at the point of death. Please come lay your hands on her so that she may be healed and live." So Jesus went with him, and a great crowd kept following him and pressed him from all sides, so as to almost suffocate him. And there was a woman who had a flow of blood for 12 years, and who had endured much suffering under the hands of many physicians, and spent all that she had, and was no better. Instead, she grew worse. She had heard the reports concerning Jesus, and she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his garment. For she kept saying, "If I only touch his garment, I shall be restored to health." And immediately her flow of blood was dried up at the source, and suddenly she felt in her body that she was healed. And Jesus, recognizing in himself that the power proceeding from him had gone out, turned around immediately to the crowd and said, "Who touched my clothes?" And the disciples kept saying to him, "You see the crowd pressing hard around you from all sides. You ask, 'Who touched me?'" Still he kept looking around to see who had done it. But the woman, knowing what had been done for her, though alarmed and frightened and trembling, fell down before him and told him the whole truth. And he said to her, "Daughter, your faith, your trust and confidence in me has restored you to health. Go into peace and be continually healed and freed from your bodily disease." While he was still speaking there, a man from the ruler's house came and said to Jairus, "Your daughter has died. Why bother and distress the teacher any further?" Overhearing but ignoring what they said, Jesus said to the ruler of the synagogue, "Do not be afraid, only believe." And he permitted no one to accompany him except Peter and James and John, the brother of Jesus. When they arrived at the house, the ruler of the synagogue looked carefully around, the people weeping and wailing loudly. And when he went in, he said to them, "Why do you make an uproar and weep? The little girl is not dead, but only sleeping." And they laughed and jeered at him. He then put them all outside, and took the child's father and mother and those who were with him, and went in lying by the girl. Gripping her firmly by the hand, he said to her, "Talitha kumi," which translated is, "Little girl, I say to you, arise from the sleep of death." And instantly the girl got up and started walking around, for she was 12 years old. And they were utterly astonished and overcome with amazement. He strictly commanded and warned them that no one should know this, and he expressed to them, "Give her something to eat." So I absolutely love that story. It's so powerful. I feel like it brings it to life, and I feel like there's a lot of takeaways that we can take from this. So I want to dive right in. Number 1, I really want to highlight the deep belief and faith that both Jairus, who is a rich ruler at this time, and this woman, who's poor, desolate, has nothing at this time, have in Jesus. They not only pray for Jesus to heal her, but they get up and they move their feet towards him. I think that's a big principle that Christians can take away, that deep faith and that deep belief, number 1, but not just stopping there. Far too often I see Christians, and I've been guilty of this myself, that say, "God, if you could only fix this. God, if you could only heal this." For many, many years, I prayed for, "God, can you heal my addictions? Can you save me from this? I'm my own worst enemy. Can you stop me from this? Here's the thing though, guys. God's not often a puppet master. He doesn't just respond to that. You have to work for what you pray for. And I see both of these characters in the Bible. Jairus, as wealthy a ruler as you could be back then. This poor woman, all ends of the spectrum. Both had faith, but they both moved their feet towards Jesus. Now, recently I've started every single day of my morning routine by waking up and saying a pretty quick prayer. Hey Jesus, I just want to move towards you today and take a walk together. I then take a moment in prayer and kind of shift my mindset and say, hey God, I just want to be near you and I want you to flow through me. That's what these two people did. And how powerful that is. And Jesus says many times, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can move mountains. I feel like both of these characters in the Bible had not only the deep faith to trust that they would be healed, but also took action, sought him out, went there, fought through crowds to get him. Sometimes in life it's not easy, right? We feel like we're a prisoner of those addictions. We feel like we're a prisoner of that thing we're going through, that divorce, that job, getting fired, whatever that might be. And we pray, God, can you save us? I urge you today to not stop there. Pray, God, I want your guidance in this, open and close doors, but ultimately show me what to work on. Help me to get up and go. So I urge you today, friend, whatever you're praying for, don't stop there. Don't say, God, help me to lose weight. Take actionable steps and start to lose the weight. Don't say, God, please restore my marriage to the way it once was. Take actionable steps to get there. Follow Jesus, believe that he will deliver you from those things. I firmly believe everything I pray for is already done. God is already working for me. But I don't just stop there. I don't go in the middle of the road and hope that a car doesn't hit me because I'm praying. I continue to move my feet towards where God wants me to go. The second big takeaway I think we can take from this, and this is my all-time favorite lesson of the Bible. There's a fantastic sermon on this by Robert Madu, who in part I'm going to take some of this from. I'll link it below. You guys should definitely check out this sermon. It's called Get Out. Now, I didn't really have this takeaway until I watched Robert Madu's sermon. But the part that I love the most about this is when Jesus arrives at Jairus' house. There's people weeping, and to set the scene back then, a rich person would have actually hired people to come in and weep and mourn the death of his daughter. You know, as a father myself, I cannot imagine the low spot that this man must have been in. His daughter's dead. He's moping around. I can imagine only when that woman touched Jesus' cloth and he's sitting there talking to her and looking for him. I can feel the anxiety rise as I read that from his point of view. Jesus, my daughter, what are we doing? Stop it, let's go, please. It's my only daughter. Jesus stays calm and says, do not be afraid, only believe. I think that's such a powerful takeaway in and of itself, what he tells him there. I could do a whole sermon on that, but I want to highlight that quickly. Because in your life, you're going to face things, you'll probably face things that are often less traumatic than the death of your daughter. But you can always lean into that. Do not be afraid, just believe. So when Jesus arrives at the house and he finds everyone weeping and the girl's been dead for some time, he walks in. Now, I am certain from studying the Bible, studying Jesus, that he could have healed that girl had those people been in there. Without a doubt, he did not need to be in that room even. He could have commanded it from wherever he was and it could have been done. But he chose to go in, and when he said, the girl's not dead, she's only sleeping. They made fun of him. They jeered him. They laughed at him. And what did he do? The translation of that get out is actually forcefully to remove them from that setting. Now, why is this so important? I love this because I think so many of us as Christians, as wherever we're at in life, trying to get to these new levels, trying to grow, how many people are jeering at you? How many people are telling you, dude, just eat the bad food, man. Be a part of the team. Just live a little. You come to the bar, man. What, you don't want to be a part of the team? You know what you need to tell those people to do when you're trying to go to new levels? Get out. Jesus could have done this without removing him, but I truly believe he's showing us a principle here. I'm not performing this miracle. I'm not raising this little girl back to life until these naysayers, until these people making fun of me, until these other people get out. They're getting out of my headspace. Then I will do what I'm going to do. I often think in life we are such a product of the people around us, and you need to be so mindful of that. I go back again to Jesus only chose 12 disciples. The most powerful person to ever walk the earth had 12 really close friends. Could have had 1,000, could have had 1,000,000. He chose to have 12 for a reason. Keep your circle small, audit that circle often, and if people are doubting you, telling you you can't, holding you back from your potential, give them a firm get out. Your life, your mission, your calling is too important. You can't allow those naysayers to be around you and to take your headspace. So that's my second principle today. Tell people to get out so you can become who you need to be. My third takeaway from this, and this one's really cool, is just Jesus' compassion. He has such a willingness to want to help wherever we are in life. I take the woman who her whole life has struggled with this ailment, not been able to get over it. She's broke, she's penniless. At the time, she would have been shunned from society. She had some sort of bleeding, some kind of, today it might have been like in the 80s back when they didn't quite know what AIDS was, but if you had AIDS, you sort of had a mark on you. I remember Magic Johnson playing in the NBA when they first discovered he was HIV positive. Nobody wanted to play him. It was outspoken, players saying, not allowed. This would have been 100 times worse than that back in society. She wouldn't have been allowed in the markets. She wouldn't have been allowed around people. She was an outcast, the lowest of the low. And yet Jesus just looked at her and said, "My child, your faith has healed you." I think that should be such an inspiration for a guy like me, for a person like you. When I look back over the course of my life, I wish I could say, yeah, I always believed in God and just trusted and never really made big mistakes. If you're a part of this channel or you know me personally, you know anything about me, that's just not the case. Many times I turn my back on God. Many times I make mistakes. But God's always there to lean down, to lift us up, and to show that compassion and grace. The same can be said about the rich ruler who seemingly has everything at the time. He would have been the multi-billionaire living in the ballin' out with the Rolls Royce back then. I don't know what that looked like back then. Maybe a lot of cows. I don't know. I don't know how wealth was defined back then. But for Jesus to go into his house, to kick the people out, to perform the miracle, when his servant came up and said, "The girl's dead, it's over, let the teacher go." And Jesus looks right at him and says, "Don't fear, believe." And I think we can take that sort of faith wherever we're at in our life. God's with us in the mountains when everything's going great. He's also with us in the valley when everything's not going so great. Friend, wherever you find yourself today, the lowest of lows, I've been pretty close to there. I know a lot of other people that have too. Jesus is one prayer away. He's one ask away from reaching down his hand and starting to lift you up. Doesn't mean life's going to be easy, perfect, it's going to be a smooth ride. In fact, God often promises the opposite of that. But what he does promise time and time again is you don't have to be afraid anymore. He conquered death. There's nothing else to be afraid of. So wherever you're at today, I just urge you to pause, take a moment, think over your life. Think about where you want to go. Think about your faith. Think about your daily habits. What am I doing to grow closer to Jesus and God every day? Do I watch 30 hours of TV a week and only go to church for one and never open my Bible? That shows where my priorities are. The last thing I'll say about this is I just love this story so much. I feel like it would be an amazing Hollywood story. I can picture the day. The author makes a point here in Mark to say the girl is 12 years old. The woman has been bleeding for 12 years. I imagine that at the hospital on the same day 12 years ago, a little girl was born to a rich ruler. The best day of his life. At that very same moment, that woman was in the hospital getting the worst diagnosis of her life. Her life was ending. God took both situations and 12 years later made a miracle out of it. I truly believe God can take your situation and wherever you're at today and heal, fully restore, and get you to places you need to go. I believe you have a calling on your life that's unique to just you. And it's your job to find what that is and go share it with the world. Guys, I really thank you for tuning into this. I always say, I'm not a Bible scholar. I have no formal training. I'm just a guy that really loves Jesus a lot and likes to study the Word and listen to a lot of scriptures. If you guys enjoy this or want to shed any kind of light or any takeaways that you have from the story that might be different from my own, I would love that. Drop them in the comments. Hope you guys have the greatest day of your life. Go bless up, work for what you pray for, tell people to get out, and thank God for his love and his grace every day. You guys go have the greatest day of your life. Thanks.